whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing out the hooker force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā kona whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira whakarongo pi kari kari mai. Hare hare mai, o Taringa hare hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody, gather up close everybody. Kani kani move that body, kani kani move that body.
Ka ti me waka topa topa atu au ki tō ngāri roko tumu te heu heu. Kei rua pehura te ahika i te whare toka i puta mai ai atama te pūkōrero atama te wānanga no te kura o te mare kura.
That's a hint e te iwi. If you didn't know, e mihi ana ki a koutou katoa, kia ora Snow for starting that pātere that some group done at te Matatini 2015 or Tautahi.
Aye.
And
some awesome group.
and that's a clue to who our guest is today on this instalment of Taringa, iwi o te wiki, e te hoa, e te rangatira, Che, e mihi ana ki a koe, nau mai.
Tēnā koe, tēnā kōrua, kia ora tātou.
Tēnā koe. Actually, before we get into te iwi o te wiki, I want to ask, because, you know, we were just talking about, well, I was just talking about your name about 5 minutes before we got on Skype. So we're on Skype at the iwi, and you heard me say Che, it's not Shay. So maybe a bit of a little kōrero, a little ease us into the bigger kōrero.
Yeah, ka pai. So I'm named after Che Guevara. And Che Guevara is an Argentinian revolutionist who became famous in his mahi in Cuba with Fidel Castro. It's pronounced Che, like chocolate, like Che Nide.
Like chocolate.
In Argentina, and in other parts of Latin America, some will do Che and some will do She, like chocolat.
Chocolate.
So yeah, the correct pronunciation for Argentina is Che.
So Che.
Yeah, neat, all right.
E hoa, we ina. And that at the iwi, I actually, you know, there was a setup because I could use that kīwaha. I score a point. So e te iwi, that's our kīwaha for this instalment of Taringa. And it's actually peculiar or synonymous to the people of Te Awa o Whanganui. And hence we've chosen that kīwaha for us today because my brother here, Che, no roto mai te iwi o Ngāti Rangi, what a better way to honour this kōrero than to use a kīwaha from there. So koina tātai te kīwaha, but I thought e hoa, because we got the man online, you know, just before we were talking about some ways to use that kīwaha. So, yeah, what are some instances or some sort of, give us some context to use that kīwaha? We'ina or also we'i, both of them.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
We'i.
And it's all in the way you use your intonation. So it has both positive and negative connotations to it, depending on the context. And so che nida right can be we'ina.
We'ina.
But if it's something where you're a bit disgusted or put off by, you can go, we'i.
Oh, boy.
You know, and it's almost like an F word.
Yeah.
And you hear, especially the aunties and the nannies, they're always saying we'i or we'ina.
Yeah.
And the root word being wehi.
Yeah.
And it's all got to have either an element of surprise or an element of excitement, usually with it.
Yeah.
But you just follow the context, and it's obviously rubbed off on my wahine Missy because she always uses we'i now. So I'm slowly trying to change that Maniapoto dialect.
Yeah, I don't know if we got a kīwaha like that within Ngāti Maniapoto. So I find that interesting. So I noticed it's either we'i or we'ina.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all on your tone, and you just got to listen to the context because, you know, when you're not happy with somebody, you'll go, we'ina.
Yeah. Okay, well, the challenge we set ourselves e hoa, and it'll be more natural for you, but usually when we get speakers in from other iwi and we focus on or we use one of their kīwaha, we challenge ourselves to use that kīwaha as many times as we can through the course of the kōrero.
Yeah, ka pai.
Yeah, so we'll see at the end, and I think we're going to start a bit of a competition with our listeners, and they can count how many times we use the kīwaha through the session. Hoi anō, welcome again E hoa, e te rangatira, e mihi ana kia koe. Welcome to Taringa, brought to you by Te Wānanga o Te Aroa from the bustling metropolis of Te Awamutu.
Wiki.
Oh, touche.
Yeah, not too chay.
Nā, tō tātou rahi. And I'll be honest with you, it's only through coming to know you that I've come to know a bit, or a little bit, about Ngāti Rangi.
Aye.
So when we were putting together our speakers, I thought, man, it would be awesome to get you on here to have a kōrero. So thank you again for joining us.
Aye.
And shedding not some light, but a lot of light on Ngāti Rangi. I know every time I drive past Ruapehu now, I used to think of tūwharetoa only, but now I think of your people. And nō reira e mihi ana ki tō tātou maunga ki a Ruapehu, ana i te mokopuna e kōrero nei. Nō reira tēnā koe. So Ngāti Rangi e hoa?
Aye. So ko Ngāti Rangi tētei o ngā iwi o Wanganui Nui tonu. And as one of the tribes within the Confederation, there's 2 rootstocks to the peoples of Wanganui. And ko e rā kāwai e rua, ko rua tipua, ko te wainui a rua, ko te awanui a rua, ko rua tipua, ko tētei atu, ko Paerangi, ara ko Ngāti Rangi tērā. So we're named after Paerangi, who is one of the 2 rootstock wakapapa for the Wanganui peoples. And Ngāti Rangi, we're based ki te pūtake o Ruapehu, and from the Raitihi, Ohakune, Waioru area. And we've roughly got, depending on who you're talking to, we've got about 14 marae at home. And prior to World War I, in our main heart, in our headquarters, which is an area called Karioi, which is between Ohakune and Waioru, there were between 14 to 11 marae/kainga prior to World War I. But you know, as people move and as things change, the influenza killed off a couple of marae as well. You know, things change and we evolve. And where you'll talk to some of our people, they'll refer to themselves as Te Ati Haunui a Pāparangi. You'll hear some of them refer to themselves as Te Wainui a Rua. And you'll hear most of us refer to ourselves as Ngāti Rangi, who is a tribe within the Confederation of Wanganui Nui tonu.
Kia ora.
But just to better understand that whakapapa, the Haunui lines, as an Āti Haunui a Pāparangi, they married into Paerangi.
Okay.
And you'll hear of another tribe down on the Wanganui River at Kaihoaki.
Yep.
And they are Ngā Paerangi.
Ngā Paerangi, right, yes.
Yes, and Ngā Paerangi, that's of Paerangi number 2.
Okay.
So we're of Paerangi number 1, and Ngā Paerangi is Ngā Paerangi number 2.
And those Kaiwhaiki people know that, eh?
Nā mātou no mātou, we always talk Paerangi ki uta, Paerangi ki tai.
Kia ora.
Because of how things have been married off over the centuries between the Paerangi and Ruatipua lines, one of Paerangi's mokopuna, Taiwiri, she married the senior line of Ruatipua, and the descendants of Taiwiri and her siblings, they are the ones that make up who Ngāti Rangi is.
Kia ora.
So Taiwiri, that kuia, she's tō pai oki. That kuia a Taiwiri, kuia te mātāpuna o tō mātou karangatanga.
Taiwiri.
Ana.
I like this because this is very new to me.
Yeah, all these questions
I want to lie that I know, but I don't.
Yeah. No, these are genuine questions of curiosity.
Yeah. So does Ngāti Rangi affiliate to a waka? Because I'm getting a sense that Paerangi was with names like Ruatipua and things like that. And they they seem quite heavenly to me.
Aye.
Or esoteric.
Yeah.
So,
Aye. Ka pai tō Pākiki. Great question. So Ngāti Rangi, the people of the heavens, Paerangi, the god of the Milky Way, ki tā Ngāti Rangi, ki tā Wanganui Titiro, we say that I heke mai a Paerangi atua, mārunga i te rau āmua. Ko te rau āmua e manu tipua.
right.
I heke mai te rangi, ka tau ki runga o Ruapehu, ka kumeake ko te i kā o te ware toko o Paerangi.
Kia ora.
I puta mai ai a rangi tuia, rangi te auria, me uenuku manawa wiri tipua. And then Taiwiri, Airenei, and Taiwiri then has a family, and her 3 oldest then carry those names of those tupua that came out of Ruapehu, Rangituhia, Rangitiauria, Uanuku Manawawiri. And those are the 3 tupuna that you always hear in Whanganui when we're talking about Ngāti Rangi. And so, we descend from the heavens. And the beautiful thing with technology now, you see the maungaroa. Maungaroa is our word for the ikaroa, the maungaroa.
Mm-hmm.
And pairangi te atua te maungaroa, ko pairangi ko atutahi tērā.
Oh, kia ora.
I te mea ko atutahi kei te pai o te rangi, ne?
Mm.
You see some photographs these days when the Milky Way is aligned with Ruapehu.
Yes.
You can see the pathway of pairangi.
I'm getting the goosebumps.
Yes, same.
Where you know.
Where e.
I got a goosebumps.
Yes, same.
So that's who Ngāti Rangi is, and the peoples of Ruatipua, e ki nei mātou ko Ruatipua te puna o te tangata, and the intermarriage, because Ruatipua comes from te kāhui rere, as does Pairangi. Those 2 lines are kāhui rere lines. So when Aotearoa was formed by te kāhui Māui, you then get te kāhui Maunga, te kāhui rere, te kāhui kapua, all those different ancient lines prior to the major migration.
Kia ora.
And then we marry into Aotea and Kurahaupo.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Oh, well, they marry into us.
Yes.
Just for our listeners at home that may not be too familiar with some of these concepts, what is kāhui rere?
So there are 2 generic names that you'll hear rather than Ngāti and Āti, Ngai, all of that are old names, so pre the main migration.
Right.
And those names are Kāhui and Tini. And so you'll hear Te Tini o Hā, Te Tini o Taiwiri, and then Te Kāhui Rere, Te Kāhui Maunga. And those are names, Kāhui being a clan, Tini being the multitude. So those are old names for tribes.
Kia ora.
Prefixes for tribes.
You might have a tini or snow one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, come by us, there's heaps of snow.
I sort of understand now. I don't think it's off topic and I might be going a bit far forward, but there's your people and you and your whānau, your waira whānau, your people, you have a wairua about you. Nice wairua. He wairua rere ke hoki. I get that now through this kōrero. Yeah.
I often sing that song, Starry, Starry Nights.
Yes.
You have Pairangi in his reference, his connection to Atutahi. Taiwiri's brother is Ururangi, as in Wai o Uru.
Oh, yeah.
And then the river Wai o Uru flows into Hautapu. And we always talk about Te Pai Ururangi. We acknowledge Matariki, and when we're on the river, we acknowledge Puanga.
Yeah.
But our principal star at home within the Matariki cluster is Ururangi.
Kia ora.
Added to that, Rangituhia, Rangitiauria and Uanuku, which are Taiwiri's children.
Uanuku Manawawiri.
Aye. But Rangituhia, Rangitiauria, Uanuku without the suffixes, they are also stars.
Kia ora.
And then our principal tuahu of Pairangi, Tuhirangi is a star.
Tuhirangi, aye.
Our rerenga wairua, the small hill, when Taranaki left, this small hill was given his role, as matua te tapu, so given the role of the tohunga. His name is Muremotu, and Muremotu is also a star.
Kia ora.
And so we got all these connections, which are all starry.
Yep.
It goes with the name Ngāti Rangi. More than that, on the southern side of Ruapehu, there used to be a whare wānanga called Te Rangi Wānangananga. And when Whiro from Rarotonga, the great navigator, where you get Hilo in Hawaii, Hiro in French Polynesia, Iro in Rarotonga, and Whiro, or how we'd say Wiro, his whare wānanga, Te Rangi Wānangananga, was based on the southern slopes of Ruapehu, above the bushline. And the sole purpose of that, Mātai Wetu.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's all these hints in all our names. You know, there's a lake on the desert, which is called Te Rua o Puanga. And then you just go past there and off that main plateau and down towards Taihape. You get Te Riu o Puanga and Whiti Kaupeka, it's part of Scorpio. You get all of these different names around there, back through to Pipiriki, where it's just covered with stars. And so there's heaps of kōrero about home relating to stars.
Tēnā koe.
Wehi nā.
You referenced Matua Te Tapu, and I've heard there are other names for the maunga other than the generic or exoteric names that everybody knows of, e.g. Tongariro, e.g. Ruapehu. Can you share some of those names?
Ana. So, Ruapehu was the first to be formed, and he is known as Matua Te Mana, because when Maui Tikitiki left to get the karakia to calm the fish, and his brothers tried to kill the fish, they couldn't kill the fish, and therefore they had to ask Rangi Nui for assistance, and he says, he mana nui tō te ika nei. Mā tete I mana nui ake te ika e wakatau.
Kia ora.
And so, ka wānau mai ko Matua Te Mana. Through the formation of that volcano, you get the name Matua Te Mana, which was about being the keeper of the mana of the island. And so, te kōrero te kāinga, ki te hūrawa, a Ruapeu, ka oki te ika ki tōna tuataitanga.
Okay.
And so the connection between Paerangi and Matua Te Mana, tērā kaaka, tērā taura ere, me u ki te punga o Ngārangi. And so there's this invisible magnetic field that holds up the mountain so that it doesn't collapse or blow up, because once it blows up, the kōrero of our old people is that the fish will return back to where it comes from. So that's Matua Te Mana. And then the kōrero goes on, and I'm shortcutting it. From there, you then get the formation of the second maunga, Matua Te Toa, which is Tongariro, Matua Te Tapu, which is Taranaki, Matua Te Pononga, which is Ngāuru Hoe, and Matua Te Hine, which is Pihanga. Ruapehu, he's then seen as the grandfather of the clan. Matua Te Toa is seen as the provider, the protector, the warrior, Matua Te Toa, which is why he was given a gift from the South Island, which is Te Ririu and Tākaka.
Kia ora.
Those kaitiaki that are well known around the mountains, and they always roam everywhere around the mountains, and then they also come up and visit at Pirongia. And then Matua Te Tapu, he was the high priest or the tohunga who maintained the tapu of the clan. Matua Te Pononga, he was the ringa waiwai. He did all the bidding and all of the mahi for the clan. And Matua Te Hine, she was just an absolute maiden. And her role to ensure, through procreation, the formation of all the other volcanic mountains throughout the island. And then the final matua we talk about is the Matua Te Puhi. So that when Taranaki is instructed to leave the mountain clan after him and Pihanga checking each other out a bit too much and upsetting Pihanga's husband, Tongariro, the formation of Matua Te Puhi, who we call Te Rauhoto.
Oh, okay.
And who Taranaki called Rauhoto Tapairu. And I liken her unto a navman.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah, a navman or a tom-tom. So, you use your phone to get the directions. And koia te pai arai. And because the Whanganui River had already been made, but when Taranaki left, nāna I Wakawānui.
Kia ora.
Nāna te teawa I Wakawānui, ana ka mauetia ko ngā roimata. And there's these big rocks, big boulders in the middle of the Whanganui River at certain places. And those are referred to as ngā roimata Matua Te Tapu. So those are the teardrops along the Whanganui River, and especially at a place called Waimaringi. And, that name makes sense.
Yep.
Just downstream from Taumarunui.
Koina te te awaku bucket list is to go on the Tira Hoi.
Aye, down Wanganui.
Ana.
One day, eh?
One day.
Well, and because the year before the Tira Hoi wa Korowaia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Korowaia, and they all went down. Because he was brought up at home, at Taumarunui for a while.
Yep.
And his sister is married to my koro.
Oh.
Yeah, his whāngai sister. Nani P, she's from Waltu. And they all went down on one of the early testers to check it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did Tira Hoi start?
30 years ago.
Wow.
So I was the youngest on the first tiro hoi waka. And yeah, so I'm 42 now. Yeah, so 30 years ago, and it's been an amazing wānanga that not only connects Uri and connects us as a people from the mountains to the sea, but it's just really good glue, especially through all of this political rubbish that happens through treaty settlement.
Kia ora, kia ora.
And so it's good glue to just remind us that, okay, Ngāti Rangi might have a settlement now, but we're still Wanganui. And it's just making sure that we remember that. And the tira's a great way to do that.
It's quite a journey, eh? I mean, you start ki Taumarua Nui,
Ana.
and then from there all the way to Te Puaha
Ana.
or Whanganui.
Yeah, it is a big journey. And so some years we'll start it in the mountain at home in Ngāti Rangi. And some years we'll go straight to Taumarunui. And occasionally we'll also start in Ngāti Hikairo because of the river starting there.
Oh, okay.
Ngā wai inu a rua tipua,
Yep.
te hoko whitu a rākei poho. That's the source of the Wanganui River. And it roughly takes, on the water, 12 days. But, you know, the day before and the day after. So 14 days. And so we paddle and we stay at marae and camp at old kāinga and pā sites. And it's pretty amazing, you know, like especially when you're in the bush, because once you leave Tawata, there's no road
Kia ora.
for about 4 or 5 days, and you just get to enjoy the awa. Everybody's phones run out, and it's just going back to basics.
Sika.
You're not allowed to play music from any device except for an instrument,
Kia ora.
Aoi.
and it just forces everybody to just go back to basics. You're not allowed to play games on your phone. You can only play cards, knuckle bones, hand games, or if you've got a board.
Aoi.
So there's some strict rules just so that we learn to talk to each other.
Kia ora. Yeah. And you become a part of the landscape, you appreciate it.
Ana.
Yeah.
Ana, koina. That wakatauki, e re kau mai te awa nui mai te kāhui maunga ki Tangaroa, kuau te awa ko te awa kuau, is 29 years old.
Oh, okay. So that's a relatively new whakatauki.
It's a relatively new wakatauki. The thinking behind it is old,
Yes,
Aye.
tika.
but it's a new wakatauki which just gained momentum because, you know, I am the river and the river is me. It's so simple. So Rangitihi Tahu Pārai, he coined that kōrero, and yeah, after that it became famous.
Tika. Nei rawe katoa tērā whakaro ki au.
Wehina.
Yeah. I'll give you that.
Even though there was an H in there.
I think it's any sort of initiative like that you're talking about the simplicity of the whakatauki, of the pepeha. It's also the, you know, the wānanga itself. There's all sorts of, you know, kurahuna in that, getting back to the land, the people, and then the lifeblood of the people. Looking at the awa as a metaphor for their toto.
Aye, the well-being.
Yeah. You know, we'ina.
The awa as being a metaphor to guide us in life, because it's our one chance in a year to unplug and force ourselves to check our tikanga.
Kia ora.
30 years ago, our olds were very clear, and, you know, and some of them were in their 90s then, and so they were from another world, but they were very clear that it would be a wānanga where the young ones would stand on the marae. And so when we go on to each marae, because you're put into roster duties, there's 4 to 6 duty groups each year depending on the size of the tira. Now, a small tira is 60 to 80, a big tira is about 120. And so the people for each roster group, they have to do the karanga, the waiata, and the haikōrero and the karakia. They've got to lead all of those things.
Wehina.
Ana. The olds only speak if they need to.
Kia ora.
The kuia will let the young ones do as much as possible and only fill in the gaps where they need to as well.
Tēnā koe.
And so some years it's awesome and it's all done that way. Some years it's not as strong. Just depends on who's able to be there to lead it. But, you know, this year I'd been off the tiro for 5 years after living down south and all of that. And it was just a beautiful tiro hoi waka. I actually wasn't looking forward to it because it was the 30th and thought it would be too big. But it was actually really nice and intimate. We started off with 80, and by the end of the tira we had about 60, when normally the tira grows as you go downstream. And like the wānanga we had were just crazy. They were insane how much we got to discuss and challenge ourselves and the roles of people on the marae, in the kitchen, in the warepuni, all the different parts that make up our marae structure, but then also how we take that kōrero home. And, you know, we're talking about how there's so much mental illness. And so there are a few of us who said, well, ana e te i o ngā okaritenga, a ngā mātua, ngā pure e tai ai te wakawātea, te wete atu, i e rā taumaatanga. You know, and so simple things about, yes, we've all been taught to go to the water, but when you're in a certain state, these are the other things that you need to do at the water. And just making it easy. And so like we talked about, okay, so when you need to clear yourself because you're heavy, face one direction, face downstream, and let all of that heaviness go. Then turn upstream and ask for all of the abundance from the source to refill you, to refill your cup.
Kia ora.
Then when talking about being down at the ocean, down at the moana, ki te tai o rehua, as the sun is setting, and you see those last rays, and it's as if the horizon just sucks them away. And you see it on a sunset on the west coast. And we're telling everybody, ko ngā tai miti a rehua tēnā. Taua wā, i te ahiahi pō, kia kite i te ekinga o te rā, ana mā ngā taimiti o rehua koe e wakaora. And so you dive into the ocean at that moment as the sun is taking away those last rays, that last light, and it takes all the heaviness. And so, you know, we're in a really good space to be able to share a lot more of those ritenga with our people, just because things are so crazy with the amount of pressure we have today. We thought, oh, well, tērā pēr, it's taken us 30 years to start sharing some of that stuff. The only other time I'd heard so much sharing was when our kuia, and this is Sir Archie Tairoa's mum, and another, Nanny Grace, and another kuia, Te Manoa Nui Pauro, they both publicly, and because normally we go into our wahine and tāne time, just to learn the different things and how we look after each other. But these kuias, they had their wahine time, and then they decided, and this was in the late 90s, they decided, no, we need to share this with our men. And so they had a wānanga, and they taught us how to prepare the kope, wahine, with the old moss.
Kia ora.
And what was beautiful about that is because for their era, he tapu tērā, and you don't talk to the men about it. That's women's stuff. But the fact that they saw the importance, and Nanny Nui was nearly 100. You know, she would have been in her mid to late 90s then. And she's still paddling. She's amazing. But the fact that they saw the importance, we need to share this.
Kia ora.
And similar to this year, it wasn't a burden, it wasn't a good space. The wairua was right for us to share more to help ourselves.
Tēnā koe. That's inspirational, to say the least. And I'm hoping that some of our listeners are out there in the iwi, and I know they are, you know, talking about going to the water, the river. And I think people who have been brought up with that knowledge take it for granted. And when they tell someone, you know, feeling heavy or toimaha, and you say, oh, go to the river, well, they don't necessarily know what to do.
Yeah.
So there's sharings like that, wānanga, as you say, that need to happen in all iwi, because that knowledge is still there.
Yeah.
And, you know, bloody hell, tātou te Māori o te tangata i naine, talking about technology, and it's a bit ironic because here we are on a podcast, but, you know, we have this thing, you know, we go to Google all the time, find a remedy there. You know, I call all this, heaps of my relations are there Google doctors.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? Oh, te me, how do you know? Oh, on the Google.
On the Google,
wā.
yeah.
Really, me hoki me hoki ki o tātou whenua, ki o tātou awa, ki o tātou maunga, kia pure ai, e ngā hau, e ngā wai, e ngā hihi o te rā. Because I'm a firm believer in that. And, you know, we whakapapa to the environment. And the environment has a huge part in our healing. The problem is with us, te tangata, that
we don't hold that same whakaaro for the environment as our tupuna because of the world we live in.
Yeah.
But it's not too late to get back to that. And that's why Tirohoi resonates with me, because I see it as a recharge for your people, for Ngāti Rangi, for Whanganui. And I know it's something that other iwi have tried to recreate or taken an example from there to do something like Tirohoi. So, koina oku whakaaro.
You know, I think about when Sir Robert Mahuta, you know, when Te Ata came on and Sir Robert wanted to then start the Tirohoi here in Waikato. And so, you know, they used our family wakas, mum's brothers wakas. Well, we've just got to look at every iwi that's doing some awesome stuff. And if it works for them, we just got to test it with ourselves. And if it works, then make the most of it. Because I think one of the challenges of today's society is there's so much noise and clutter that our minds have become addicted to the noise. And you and I had that discussion with Rikirangi last year.
Yeah.
Those winds of Tāwiri Mate and getting back to the basic, that helps us see some clarity. And I think the more we start to share, hopefully we can help ourselves better.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about is the balance that your people have, Ngāti Rangi I'm talking about now, and probably Whanganui, with whakapono Māori and whakapono Hāhi. And how there seems to be a really, really good balance there.
Yeah.
Oh, it is what it is for us, I suppose. And, you know, it's one of those bad things where you take things for granted. You know, most of Whanganui is Catholic and French Catholic. And French Catholic is quite different to the Irish Catholic up north. And so the whole chanting that the monks would do, especially that Latin chanting, it resonated with our tupuna. And so you'll find our style of Catholic chanting is almost like a ruruku, like a karakia taputa. And it's fast, there's typical Whanganui, fast. and I think that the key teaching that our old saw is that they, irrespective of the name that you might want to call your God, they saw that entity as being the same thing. Yes, in Te Ao Māori you could touch your God. You know, you can touch Tāne, you can touch Tangaroa, you can feel Tāwiri Mate. And in the Christian notion, you had to do a bit more work. But one of the key things that they always said was to the missionaries, we welcome you because we know your Father intimately and have heard of your Son. And they weren't saying that they knew of God the Father, God Jehovah, but the concept of God. That's what they were talking about. We know your Father. And te waka kikonga o te kupu, God the Son, you know, that manifestation, physical manifestation of the Word, they went, we've heard of that as well, that idea.
Kia ora.
And so that wasn't a new thing for them. And so the various poropiti that came out from the awa and influenced the awa, whether it was te kōti, Kweti and Tohu, te ua haumene, ti toko waru, and then coming back into home itself, whether it was te kere ngātai e rua, mere rikiriki rātana, te māreikura, Alec Phillips, and all of those, ours just made it work. And I think one of the challenges of today is we have become so academic that it's a bit like the system where academia comes from. They know how to split the atom, but they don't know how to put it back again.
Kia ora.
We've become so non-Māori in our critique that we think we're being Māori when actually I don't know if we are. And so, you know, we just made our māramatanga work for us. And yeah, so, you know, you still have the 12s, the ringatu rās at home, especially in Otoko and Pamoana, and there used to be, my dad's family used to also follow that as well in Karioi. And because, you know, in Karioi, in Ngāti Rangi, at Ngā Mokai Marae, that house was called Te Pau o Te Tikanga Te Kōti Rikirangi.
Wow.
Because Pau a tōna māramatanga ki te take o Ruapehu. And you know, you got all of these different māramatanga that we all follow. So the 12s, Te Keres, Rās, they have their Rās. You have our Rās and the different days throughout the year. You have the Rātana Rās. And then you have the 18s and 19s for pariaka. And so, our people just make it work.
Ia koe kōrero ana, I'm thinking of one of my good mates at Mahi, who's a Baha'i.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about māramatanga, and that's another kupu I always hear, i roto o ngā iwi o whanganui, it's māramatanga, as opposed to whakapono. It's māramatanga. And he talks about, that it's the same light, same māramatanga, everybody's just got a different lamp for holding it.
Yeah.
But it's the same māramatanga. Beautiful.
Wehina.
One of the kōrero at home is, ko tai te rākau māramatanga, kāpeka, engari e ngingi o tonu ana ki te rākau kotai. I say that we as Māori do not worship multiple gods. I say that we worship one entity. Just happens that one entity has a dual personification, but it's one entity. Ko rangi nui e tu iho nei ko papatūnu koe tako tuake nei. When you then look at that and you look at Christianity and Baha'i, they both come from the same branch. Ours is a different branch of that tree. Our lack of understanding of the origin of Christianity makes us fall for the propaganda around how the world wants to beat up the cousins that follow Islam. Baha'i is another peka off Islam, and there's been persecution towards them for centuries now, but it's no different. They still acknowledge Aprehama, Ihaka, Mohi, and all of the rest. And I think some of Te Ao Māori need to upskill ourselves so that we understand. So many of us talk about ihu karaiti or hehu karaiti. Well, Baha'i and Muslim, they come from that same peka.
Yeah.
We've got very philosophical. We'ina. Well, e hoa, e karewe hihi ki te haukoti a tātou kōrero, he pai no te wānanga, he pai hoki te whakarongo ki a koe. Me te waimari o Māua, Māringa nui Māua te whakarongo te noho tahi, marunga I te ipurangi nei. I'm sure all our listeners out there wide and far across te ika Māui whakawhiti I te moana ki te Waipounamu, and then across te moana nui a Kiwa and te moana tā pokopoko a Tāwhaki, te tai o rehu across the world. All our listeners in Africa and England and everybody have got lots out of this installment. I've learned heaps, but I want to learn more o Ngāti Rangi. And then, kōrero rā tātou mo te māramatanga, me te ora o te tangata. Nō reira, e te hoa Chei e mihi ana ki a koe.
Nā koe.
Mau I whakawāte I a koe. Kia mohia mai koe he tuatahi tangata e nei.
Apai.
He wā anō tōna ka noho anō tātou, ka tiki nā ke etahi atu kai kōrero I roto I te kia noho tahi tātou ki te kōrero. Thank you very, very much.
Tēnā kōrua.
You just touched slightly on the treaty settlement, and that was enough. But congratulations to you too for the negotiation of that settlement with Ngāti Rangi, which has only happened last month in March. Ngā manaakitanga ki runga ki a koe. We're apolitical, I roto I te wānanga o te roa. But me mihi tonu ki a koe, e arataki nei I tō tātou pāti.
E tika, e kupu tērā I roto I te ao Māori.
Tika hoki. Yeah. We'i. We'i. Yeah, see, you didn't do one of those.
I just thought that, just in closing, you talk about the settlement, and where we had it was at the marae called Rakatapauma, which is about 8 kilometres south of Waiolu. And the warepuni there is Rangi Tuhia.
Kia ora.
And Rangi Tuhia's daughter is Hine Kōwhara, who married the famous Tamakana. Tamakana of the Tūwhare lines. From those lines, you then get descendants throughout Tainui and Te Arawa. And so the King's line, the Te Hauhau line, they all come off that house. So even though people might not know about Ngāti Rangi, most people in the North Island at least, and probably those Māmoe lines as well in the south, because Māmoe Iti and Māmoe Nui are at home where he stayed before he moved down south, or the other city. They're all in the Ngāti Rangi area as well. So e mihi ana kia kōrua, o tira kia koutou katoa e wakarongo mai ana, Nā te kōrero tētei o ngā kaumātua o tērā marae, I te wae o rāna, kuru pai for now.
Kuru pai.
And kuru pai to you too. Kia ora e hoa. Tēnā tātou e te iwi, ko tō tātou rangatira tērā e kōrero mai ana mo tōna rahi mo Ngāti Rangi. E mihi ana kia koutou, I whai taringa mai. I'm sure you all enjoyed that. And again, e mihi atu ana māua o tira mātou I te ipurangi nei, I te ipurau, te wānanga o te aroa, tēnā koutou katoa. Bro,
We're in ngā kōrero.
Yeah.
I bet you some of you out there, well, because I was, different aspects he'd talk about, just brain explosions, mind-blowing stuff. All of them are surface scratching.
Yeah, I felt that we got a good sense of, felt like we were in a wānanga.
Yeah.
Kuna te wairu o ngā kōrero.
Yeah.
Nō reira, e mihi ana ki aia.
And to those, if you're from Wanganui and you're disconnected, go to those wānanga, man.
Yeah.
Jump on that awa, don't wait for anyone.
I think that was a great plug, not that we were doing it for a plug, but for te Tirahoi.
Yeah.
I found out about te Tirahoi, I was 14.
Oh, yeah.
And it was at Manu Kōrero in Christchurch. And this koroa was telling me about it. And then he says, Tainui should do one on Waikato. And I was trying to explain to him that we could, but it wouldn't be the same because of the dams.
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying to me, what's a dam? And
Wow.
when I explained to him what a dam was, I said, well, it's a big wall in the middle of the river with some wheels in it that turn around and make electricity. Well, he cracked up laughing. He thought I was pulling his leg. But ever since then, I've been intrigued. So I am going to do it 1 year.
You must have been like, wei, when you heard about dams.
Yeah,
dams, wei.
Hey, and that was interesting, different way to use that kīwaha.
Yeah.
Hey.
You might have started to realise, koutou, e whakaronga mai ana, the duality of the use of some kīwaha, if not most.
Yeah. Tika. Hoi anō e te iwi, koe nā tātou kōrero rero, and I'm going to launch into te waiata o te wiki, and our waiata is haere mai.
E ngā iwi e haere mai, haere mai. Haere mai, haere mai, haere mai, haere mai. E ngā iwi e haere mai. I runga o te marae. Hui mai, tātou, tātou katoa. E hine mā, e tamanga, mai ngā tō, mana māri e. Hei, ha! Ia rewa runga rawa, ia ha ha. E ngā iwi e haere mai, haere mai. E ngā iwi e haere mai, haere mai. Hia ue hi!
Hei konei e te iwi, koe nā tātou waiata, hei tautoko I ngā kōrero.
Ia ha ha.
E ngā iwi e, actually we should be saying, e ngā iwi e hoki mai, hoki mai. So, hoki mai next week for the next installment. Nei māua, ko au tēnei, ko praone, e mihi atu nei.
Ko te puaheiri, e tautoko I ngā mihi, ko mihia.
Tēnā koutou, wehina.
Wehina.
Bit whakaronga, bit kari. Gather up close, everybody, buddy. Taringa. Yeah, tahuri mai ki au. Whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing at the hook of force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds. Kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā ko nā whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira. Whakarongo pi kari mai. Hare mai, o taringa hare mai. We gotta gather up close, everybody. Gather up close, everybody. Kani move that body. Kani move that body.
Taringa, brought to you by Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. To listen to more episodes, search for us on your podcast app and subscribe. Taringa, whakarongo mai.